Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our regular public meeting of the Board of School Trustees held here today on December 16th, 2024. If I could have you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then Mr. Babjack will lead us in that, along with a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Item 2 on tonight's agenda is our Board of School Trustees Resolution of Accommodation Awards. We have 4 this evening. Our first one, 2024 Corporation Christmas Card Design to Mia Clausen, 4th grader at Lake Street Elementary School, winning design for the front of our card, and Emily Miloszewska, 5th grade at Jerry Ross Elementary School, winning design for the back of the card. 2.02, the Colonel Wheeler Middle School 2024-25 Spell Bowl team for winning first place in Lake County in Class 1 and being named a state finalist at the Regional Junior Spell Bowl competition. 2.03, our Crown Point High School 2024 Latin Club for winning first place overall for Best Publicity Portfolio and Best Club Swag, second place overall for Club of the Month, 4th place in local digital scrapbook and activities contest, and 5th place in local publication contest at the National Junior Classical League Convention, and 2.04 to our very own Mr. Scott Babjack for his 8 years of dedication and exemplary service as a school board member for the Crown Point Community School Corporations. You've heard the recommendation of the accommodations. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Vassar. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. We'll now present those awards individually. Ms. Basin will lead us with the first one.
All right, could we please have Mia Clausen come on up? All right, Mia. And let's have Emily Miloszewska. Fix me on that one.
Go ahead. You were right.
Last name?
Miloszewska.
Okay, all right. If you girls want to stand right up here and I'll read this for you. Is this on? All right, thanks.
Ladies,
All right,
if you
and
could
then
turn
ladies,
and
if you want to face forward,
your
that way
parents.
your parents,
Yep,
they
be
want to
proud.
take pictures. All right. So I will read the resolution of commendation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend Mia Clausen and Emily Miloszewska for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to Mia Clausen and Emily Miloszewska from Lake Street and Jerry Ross Elementary School for having the winning designs for the front and back of the school corporation's 2024 Christmas card. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity, dated the 16th day of December, 2024. So, girls, I'll give you these.
Okay, if we could bring in the 2024-2025 Spell Bowl team for Colonel Wheeler Middle School. Come on in all the way down so we fit. Excellent, that was quick. So it's my privilege and honor to give the next accommodation award to the Colonel Wheeler Middle School 2024-2025 Spell Bowl team for winning first place in Lake County in Class 1 and being named a state finalist at the Regional Junior Spell Bowl competition. I'm going to read the accommodation. The Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend the 2024-2025 Colonel Wheeler Middle School Spell Bowl team for meritorious achievement. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of School of Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation wishes to express sincere congratulations to the 2024-2025 Colonel Wheeler Middle School Spell Bowl team for winning first place in Lake County in Class 1 and being named a state finalist at the Regional Junior Spell Bowl competition. The trustees publicly recognize this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity, dated the 16th day of December 2024. Congratulations, team, on a job well done. Coach, if you want to come join me up here, I'm going to call your names and you can come and get your award. But first, before we begin, I'm going to have you speak in a microphone and answer a few questions. Coach, tell us a little bit about the Spell Bowl competition and how it works.
The Spell Bowl competition in Indiana is similar to like a spelling bee. However, it's not an individual effort. It's actually a team effort. So there are 8 different rounds of spelling. Each kid has 9 words that they spell out of a word list of 1,400 words. So our students have worked through the word list of 1,400 words, and any one of those could have been called during their round. So they worked every Tuesday and at home and on every, probably all the time, trying to digest this word list. And it's funny because some of the kids know what number of the 14 words a specific word is. So they do work the list really well. I'm super proud of each and every one of them. And they've amazed me every year, and this year was no different. This year at state, they actually improved their placement from regional seedings, which was a much tougher list. So kudos to them for really going the extra mile and just exceeding all expectations at state as well.
Thank you, Coach. Every year that you're here, it means that you've accomplished something big. How does this team stack up historically with some of the other teams? And
I think it's like the 6th year in a row that Wheeler has gone to state. This team ranks right up there with some of the top teams. I think it's one of the first in the last couple of years that have improved dramatically. We went up 7 spots at state. So they really did show up at state with a much harder word list. So very proud of them.
Thank you, Coach. Coach James Hensley, if we can give a round of applause for Coach Hensley. All right, we're going to call your name if you want to come forward and receive your accommodation. Sophia Gligorova. What did I miss it? Gligorova? How do you say it? Gligorova. Sophia Gligorova. Thank you. London Hines. Cheyenne Khan. Is that correct? Ambriella Linden. Okay, Solomon Matsuwitsa. Alyssa Nelson. Roan Radula. Elizabeth Spencer. And Coach James Hensley. All right, well, congratulations, team. We're going to take a couple photos, but what a great honor. Thank you for representing our school corporation so well. Coach.
Okay, I have the privilege of recognizing the Crown Point High School Latin Club, so you can come on in. Okay, tonight we are honoring the Crown Point Latin Club for winning first place overall for Best Publicity Portfolio and Best Club Swag, second place overall for Club of the Month, fourth place in local digital scrapbooks and activities contest, and fifth in local publications contest at the National Junior Classical League Convention. So we honor them tonight. First, Coach Jeremy Walker. Nick Collier. Sammy Ipima. Annalise, that's my daughter's name, Annalise Jacoby. Gibson Murley. Hayden Smith. Joe Stewart. Are you Jackson or Luke? Luke Waldschmidt. Coach Walker, would you like to say something about your squad?
My name is Jeremy Walker, and I'm one of the Latin teachers at the high school. I'm also the sponsor of the Crown Point Latin Club, and I'm going to defer the microphone, I know I never do that, to one of our co-presidents, Nick Collier.
Well, National Convention is basically a big gathering of Latin clubs from across the country that gathers every year on a rotating college campus. This year it was, last summer, it was at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville in Tennessee. And it's basically just a big celebration of the classics in Latin and our club as a whole. And there's just a lot of graphic arts competitions, some athletic competitions, academic tests, and overall just a really big celebration of the fellowship we have in JCL.
Mr. Babjack, if I could have you please come front and center, please.
Those of you who were here for the previous, please feel free to leave. You're welcome to stay if you would like.
You're not. We usually try to handcuff people to the seats. And it doesn't work. This combination award is special because when you serve on boards with individuals and you get to know them and their families a little better and what makes them tick and click. So I'm in a great appreciation to read this resolution of accommodation. Crown Point Board of School Trustees is honored to commend Scott E. Babjack, esteemed school board member. Be hereby resolved that the Board of School Trustees for the Crown Point Community School Corporation, faculty, staff, and students wish to express sincere appreciation to Mr. Scott Babjack for his 8 years of dedication and exemplary service as a school board member for the Crown Point Community School Corporation. The Board of School Trustees publicly recognizes this achievement and renders it permanently to its minutes to be preserved for public posterity dated the 16th day of December, 2024. Scott, congratulations. With him this evening is his wife Tracy, sons Braden and Grayson. I know what it is serving on the board to where, dad and husband are away and doing things that they could be spending time with the family. So on behalf of the board, we appreciate, your allowance of Scott for 8 years, and we are gonna miss him on the board. Just a quick little story, when Scott got onto this board 8 years ago, we needed to get him off the accelerator a little bit. He was raring to go and ready to jump into every little thing that he had a passion for, and that's a lot of things when you're overseeing a school corporation of this size. And I can tell you this, Scott listened to others, and he really became one heck of a board member, to where he had his voice, learned to listen, and sometimes you're not always gonna, it's a vote of 5, and you're not always gonna agree with what we decide on, but as a board, we come to that majority, and he really learned to adapt to those things that maybe he didn't want to really say, you know what, this is how I feel, and that's part of it. It's just like a good marriage to where you got to give and take sometimes, and Scott learned that very well, and I'm going to miss Scott after serving on 8 years. He's become a friend, and hope that friendship continues to move on. And again, on behalf of the board and the administration, Scott, congratulations.
We're gonna. They only had to go to the first one 8 years ago.
I like that. That's good. There's a few others in that situation. Item 3 tonight is our public hearing. 3.01, if I could get a motion to suspend the regular meeting and open the public hearing on additional appropriations.
So,
So moved.
second.
Motion by Ms. Basin, seconded by Mr. Vassar. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. With that, 3.02 is patrons' comments on the public hearing. There are none on the sheet. Did anybody come in late that wanted to speak on this? Nope, okay. And we'll move on to item 3.03, the resolution 856, Education and Operations Fund Additional Appropriation. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, occasionally from year to year, we were required to ask for an additional appropriation in some specific funds. This is the same request we made of last year in the Education Operations Fund. We've encouraged some unanticipated expenditures, if you will. If you remember, this budget that we did for calendar year 2024 was actually completed over 15 months ago in July and August, September of 2023. There's been quite a few changes in the corporation since then, specifically with our transportation cost, but also within buildings and grounds and some of the construction going on. Not that the construction cost, but the operating of the buildings due to that construction. Those costs are a little higher than we anticipated, mainly through utilities. The other piece that's a little higher than anticipated on the education fund side is our special education costs. Just to give you an idea of what those look like, our special education count when the budget was actually prepared prior to the December 1 count in 2023. So go back to the numbers we actually had from the previous school year. We had about 1,582 students, and it's a duplicated count. Just the count that we finished up last week, we certified today actually, that count was over 1,900. Our special education population is growing more than anticipated. And with that, we need to ask for some additional appropriations. The nice part about it is our additional appropriations are funded through increased revenues, more than anticipated as well. Our interest income is higher. Also, with the additional special ed count comes some additional dollars through the funding formula for those special ed students as well. So with that, we ask for your approval of resolution. Let me back up here a second. Excuse me, resolution 856, which is for an additional appropriation in the education fund in the amount of $2 million and $3 million in the operations fund, and waiving the reading of.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for the approval of resolution 856, an additional appropriation in the education fund in the amount of $2 million and $3 million in the operations fund, along with waiving the reading. May I have a motion? Motion by Mr. Babchak, second by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion for Mr. Reese?
I just like to tell Mr. Reese, thank you very much for that explanation. And for the public to hear an explanation for that too was well done. As we move down the road, one of the hot items I keep seeing almost daily in the newspaper is the proposed NIPSCO rate of 22% for electrical bills. Does that fit into our future planning, or can we actually do that legally?
So at this point, as you know, we've already completed the budget for calendar year 2025.
Right.
So any increase would take a hit on 2025, and more than likely, you'll see me come back at this same meeting in 2025 asking for an additional appropriation if that increase were to go through. Right now, we're in the public hearing phase in that specific topic. There's been quite a few school corporations come out against it publicly.
Yes.
We have been selective in our thoughts regarding that for that increase. But safe to know that we're working hard to make sure that if that does happen, we'll be able to fund it as necessary.
Thank you. I figured that would be it.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Item four tonight, patrons' comments. There being none, we'll move on to item 5, our consent agenda. Dr. Terrell. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I'm sorry. I first need a motion to close the public hearing and resume our regular meeting. May I have a motion?
Second?
Motion by Mr. Babjak, second by Ms. Basin. Questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you for that. With that, we'll move on to item 4, which is patrons' comments. There being none, we'll move on to item 5, consent agenda. Dr. Terrell.
Thank you for your consideration this evening. We have 5.01, our regular business meeting minutes from November 25th. We have our 5.02, the personnel agenda, 5.03, recommendation of employment of candidates, and then 5.04, the voucher registered checks as listed.
You've heard the recommendation of the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Motion by Ms. Basin, second by Mr. Vassar. Question or discussion on any of those 4 items?
I'd just like to thank Mr. Akiwa for the time that we got to spend on this. I had a few questions, and he was able to more than amply answer those. So thank you very much for that time.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you. 6 action items. 6.01, approval to and apply for and receive the project Lead the Way Gateway Grant Middle Schools. Mr. Gianfermi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Crown Point School Corporation has the opportunity to apply for and receive funding from the Project Lead the Way Gateway Grant to expand our existing middle school PLTW programs in the amount of $20,000. Each school would receive $10,000, in which they would purchase additional VEX robotics kits, ensuring every student have the ability to build and create a robot, as well as each school would receive a 3D printer, which they could use then as they design parts digitally. Then they actually could create those with the 3D printer and then incorporate those into the robots as well. So the administration is recommending approval to apply and receive funding through the Project Lead the Way Gateway Grant in the amount of $20,000.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfermi. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to apply for and receive funding from Project Lead the Way Gateway Grant to expand existing middle schools PLTW programs in an amount of $20,000, $10,000 per middle school. May I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Babjak. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. 6.02, course editions, Crown Point High School, 2025-26. Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I am here tonight to request your approval for the addition of the following course, which is sculpture for the 2025-2026 school year at Crown Point High School. This course would support the visual arts programming that we have at the high school and would involve students having the opportunities to really delve into and develop skills in the areas of carving, modeling, construction, and assembling. And it is the administration's recommendation that the school board approve this course as an addition for Crown Point High School for the 25-26 school year.
Thank you, Mrs. Ramirez. You've heard the recommendation of administration for approval of the course edition for sculpture at the Crown Point High School for the 2025-26 school year. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Basin. Questions?
Mrs. Ramirez, have we had this course before?
This is a new course for us.
We've never had sculpture?
Not sculpture. We have had 3D art courses, but a course that is a year long that focuses on sculpture, we have not had.
But do we still have ceramics?
We do have ceramics.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for that.
And this would allow students to develop a 3D portfolio as well. Right now, they're very adept at creating a 2D portfolio, but this expands so that they have something beyond ceramics as an example for 3D.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. 6.03, updated policies. Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. We are looking at this evening at several policies. We are looking to create a new policy for animals in the classroom. So to get there, we are going to look at our current policy 8405 and remove some language in there regarding pets in the classroom. So we'll update 8405. We will look to retire our current Neola policy on animals in the classroom, which is policy 8390. And then finally, wake up or create our new ISBA policy 5372 for animals in the classroom and on school property. And then finally, ISBA 3012, creating a new ISBA policy for employee reference checks. Finally, policy 6110, we are going to upgrade federal grants and awards administration, and this policy will be updated with ISBA language. So tonight, what we'd like to do is waive the second reading and approve these policies in the form that you see them.
Thank you, Mr. Akiwa. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval of those policies. Policy 5372, 3012, 6110, 8405, and also the removal of PO policy 8390. I also waive the second reading. If I could have a motion, please.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, seconded by Mr. Babjack. Questions or discussion?
Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Akiwa. He and I discussed this at length because there were a few things in there that kind of a little fuzzy, but he explained them quite well. So thank you again for that.
You're welcome, Mr. Vassar.
Thank you. Any other? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 6.04, year-end business office procedures. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, every year we come to you with the business office procedures at year end. As our board meeting is held on December 16th tonight, we do need to conduct business for the next 2 weeks until we reach December 31st. This helps us close out our books for the year end. Along with that, if we happen to have any funds that are in the negative, we're also requesting the ability to transfer funds. Everything that happens between now and the end of the calendar year, we'll bring back to you at the January board meeting. So with that, we're recommending approval to issue checks prior to board approval and temporary interfund transfers if necessary for December. All checks issued after the closing date and the regular meeting docket in December will be brought to the school board at the January meeting. It will be included in the January claim docket.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard the recommendation of the administration for approval to issue checks prior to board approval and temporary interfund transfers if necessary for December. All checks issued after the closing date of the regular meeting docket in December will be brought to the school board at the January meeting and will be included on the January claim docket. May I have a motion?
So, second.
Scott first. Motion by Mr. Babjack, seconded by Mr. Smith. Question or discussion? Just for the public's knowledge, this is something that's done every year, pretty much at every school corporation, just one of those cleaning up the loose edges to make sure it's approved. With that, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 6.05, support service and technology vehicle replacement. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President. As part of the 2024 GO bond, we were put into that plan to purchase 3 vehicles for our support service staff. With that, we'll be trading in some older models, a 98, a 2004, and a 2008 model, all that have high mileage. 7 requests were sent out for bid, and 4 dealerships responded. The low bid being from Smith, Ford, and Lowell for $131,972. That's a net cost after the trade-in values. It's important to do this now. Just to make you aware, we close on those bonds on Wednesday, December 18th. If if those bonds for some reason were not to close, we're not anticipating that. But if they were not to close, we would not make this purchase from those funds. But with that, we want to make sure we receive all the rebates prior to the end of the calendar year with the bids that were taken in. So with that, we recommend approval of replacing 3 Ford Explorers with Smith Ford in the amount of $131,972.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard the recommendation from the administration for the approval of replacing 3 Ford Explorers with Smith Ford in the amount of $131,972. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Basin, seconded by Mr. Babjak. Question or discussion? Thank you for handling this, Mr. Reese, in advance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. 6.06, 2025 Crown Point bus bids. Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the issues we've been facing in purchasing, specifically in this case, the bus orders, the lead time for getting new buses in is creating some issues for us. So with that, in part of the 2024 GEO bonds, we've inserted the bus purchases for 2025 into those bonds. So with that, we are utilizing the Central Indiana Education Service Center Cooperative Purchasing. We've done that for quite a few years here recently. And we're requesting 5 72-passenger buses, 1 42-passenger bus with a wheelchair lift, 2 Class A 14-passenger yellow buses with wheelchair lifts, and 1 14-passenger SAV. With that, we're recommending awarding the bus bid to the lowest overall bidder, Curlin Bus Sales, for the net cost of $1,235,774. And again, if the GEO bonds were not to close on Wednesday, we would not go through with this purchase.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. You've heard the recommendation of administration for approval awarding the bus bids to the lowest overall bidder, Curlin Bus Sales, for the net cost of $1,235,774. May I have a motion?
Motion, please.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vassar, seconded by Ms. Basin. Question or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Reese. Information, item 7 tonight. Information recognition items, superintendent's discussion groups. Mr. Vassar, anything from Cedar Lake?
One thing, and maybe Mr. Kachina, or Dr. Kachina, could help me out with this. Their request for the Cedar Lake Redevelopment Commission, at least one of their members, wanted to receive information about what events are going on, particularly at MacArthur Elementary School, being that's the only school within the Cedar Lake boundaries. Could you make that happen, where they would receive the newsletter?
Yeah, I think I can work with Ms. Bucko.
I'd appreciate that.
To make sure
Yeah, he just, maybe that she sends out that little wonderful newsletter, maybe that's something to Mr. Carnahan. Yes, Mr. Carnahan. Thank you for doing that. It just takes one layer off. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anything from Crown Point? Was that it, Mr. Vassar?
Well, that was it.
Okay. Mr. Schmidt? Nothing. Okay, nothing from Winfield. With that, we'll move item 7.02, Director of Elementary Education, Dr. Chikina.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. As we approach winter break and the halfway point in the school year, I just want to take a moment to express my thanks and gratitude for all of our elementary staff members and teachers and administrators. Recently, I had the privilege of stepping into a classroom to substitute teach at one of our elementary schools for a half day. This experience really reminded me of a few very important things. First off, I was reminded that we have awesome, remarkable students who are really eager to learn and a lot of fun and full of potential. And we have exceptionally hardworking teachers who navigate so many different responsibilities each and every day. And I was really struck by how many decisions our teachers have to make like every hour. It's a lot. Watching our teachers teach and manage it all with skill and grace really, kind of left me inspired. And needless to say, I went home that afternoon a little bit more tired than usual. But our teachers do amazing work, and I admire and appreciate all of that work. Also, this time of year, it is DARE graduation season for 3 of our elementary schools. The other 4 schools will have DARE in the second semester. But on behalf of all of our elementary schools, I want to give a big thank you to Sergeant Stenko Gligic of the Crown Point Police Department. He does really incredible work, not only teaching our 5th graders about living a healthy lifestyle and staying away from drugs and violence, but also just about positive decision making, especially that's really important right before they head off to middle school. So definitely grateful to Sergeant Gligich for all of his hard work, and we appreciate that partnership with the City of Crown Point. Thank you.
Thank you. Seven point zero three, Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members. I too really want to share just my gratefulness and my appreciation for our students, for our teachers, for our administrators, for our staff. From academics, there have been a lot of changes and a lot of really hard work that's occurred during first semester, from I-Learn checkpoints being new to resource review, curricular reviews that we're doing, looking at data, field testing curriculum, getting ready for final exams, to doing all the great things that we are able to do because of the community we have. So that we've had a series of holiday concerts, we've had theatrical performances, blood drives, angel drives, really the caring nature of our students that are supported or is supported by our teachers is really inspiring. And so I thank everybody who instills and demonstrates in our students character, positivity, flexibility. As Dr. Chiquino was telling us, our teachers are so adaptive. They really embrace change. They work as hard as any teachers, I think, anywhere. And I really want to commend them for their kindness and the care that they demonstrate throughout all of the challenges that they face, as well as then all of the celebrations that they do to honor our students and our families. So I really wish all of our students, staff, families, and administrators happy holidays, and I hope that they will rest and rejuvenate, reflect over the break. I also want to thank Mr. Babjek. Thank you very much for your service over the past 8 years. It is truly a testament to the commitment to our community that you've demonstrated, and we all appreciate your collaboration, your care, and your support. So thank you. Happy holidays to all of you.
Thank you. And the same. 7.04, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Gianfermi.
Similar to what Mrs. Ramirez was just talking about, it just a big thank you to our staff, our students, our parents. For this time of year, they just really do come together, and you can't go into any of our buildings without seeing an angel tree, a food drive, a toy drive, a clothes drive. There was one group from the high school raised over $11,000 for Northwest Indiana Pantry. That's just one group. And then when you really look at the reports from the buildings, like we raised over, collected over 1,000 cans of food or non-perishable items. Just to share that and to think about the families in our community and our school community that are in need this time of year, to make that a little bit more special for them. I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate the people that emphasize that. It just seems like, being here as long as I have, it's just something we do. We don't really think about it, it just happens in all the buildings. So big thanks to you for everyone involved in that. And again, Mr. Babjak, thank you for your service. Appreciate it. We've had some laughs and done a lot of good things, I think, during your time. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Gianfermi. 7.05, Chief Human Resource Officer, Mr. Akiwa.
Thank you, Mr. President and board members, and I'll just start off with Mr. Babjak and tell you thanks. It's been great to, I know you, been knowing you for quite some time, and it's been a pleasure seeing you serve our community in this capacity, so appreciate all you've done. Sticking with teachers, I just want to thank our new teachers. We've just begun, actually finished visiting all of our new teachers out in the field, kind of a check-in before a semester. It's really interesting and to hear them comment and exciting. And there's 3 questions I asked them. I asked them to rate themselves sort of on a 1 to 10, like what's your number in teaching as a professional. That's teaching and managing all those things, like outside of the actual teaching moment, but all the things that a teaching professional has to get a grasp on, organize, and be prepared with each and every day. And that number, 2-3 months ago might have averaged 5.5, 6.5, still trying to figure out everything, get my hands on it. Well, now that's 7.5, pushing 8. Just so nice to hear that they're finding their groove, which is what we want. The next area is, tell me about what your number is when you close the door and you're actually interacting with students. You're teaching, and it's so exciting to see their reaction, like 10, 9.5, 10, 10. Very confident interacting with the students. Fantastic, and I'll thank Dr. Terrell for this, because it's a message we want to remind them of. And ask them to rate themselves personally, because we want to instill and remind them that if things aren't good away from school with you, if you're not taking care of yourself as a human being and as a person, you're not going to be excellent in the classroom. So we kind of remind them to take some time, separate, rejuvenate, do things that you need to do so that you come energized here at work every day. And I want to thank Dr. Terrell for saying that when we onboard new folks, because it is very important. So just want to thank our new teachers for becoming a part of our community here in Crown Point, working so hard as all of our other folks have spoken to here this evening, and excited to see what those numbers register like in the spring semester. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kiwa. 7.06, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Reese.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to thank Christine Clarahan, the Director of Food Service, starting up the high school bistro here recently, coffee and different services in the morning for students and staff to come in, and adds a nice touch to the high school cafeteria, I believe, in the morning. The leadership over there with Mr. Marcinek and also the cafeteria staff have gone a long way to make that a pretty special place for students and staff to come in and get some different beverages in the morning that you wouldn't anticipate getting in a high school. So I want to thank them for all the hard work in getting that set up. Mr. Babjack, thank you for the trust you place in us, specifically in me, with my job, and I can't thank you enough for that for your 8 years.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. 7.07, Director of Communication, Mrs. Allen.
Thank you. I'd like to thank a few of our teachers at Crown Point High School for letting our team come and visit over the last few weeks to collect video, student interviews, and teacher thoughts. We have some YouTube videos going up this week about our career tech classes, and then you'll also find an article in the next We Are CP. It includes things about precision machining, auto, construction, and our CNA courses. These are also the classrooms we toured with our ambassador group last week or the week before. I'm just amazed at how those teachers maintain a classroom of calm despite so much equipment and so many things happening. And when I reached out to some of their students and said, I need some quotes, tell me about what you've learned in this class. It's not just the skills. I had things like, it's okay to make a mistake. It's how I respond that matters. I had another student tell me they've learned how to become accountable. And another was, I keep my life tidy like I keep my workplace. And I thought those were pretty big statements from students. So thank you to those teachers for letting us visit and for letting us capture their work.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. 7.08, Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Terrell.
Thank you. Like so many other, I want to thank Scott for all of your support. First time I met Scott, it was very obvious his passion for Crown Point schools in the interview process, and you've proved that over and over again. And I thank you. Been through some big things before I got here, even, but just since I've been here, COVID and redistricting and $350 million worth of building projects, and the list goes on and on and on. And Tracy, thank you for being a sounding board, a filter at times. But the passion doesn't go unnoticed, and will be missed. So appreciate you very much. Want to also recognize Sunday, my wife and I had the opportunity to attend the high school holiday spectacular, and it was unbelievable. And if you haven't been to one, it's university level or beyond. The things that our kids do, the things that the directors do, Johan Sletto, Bill Woods, Aaron Zemelko, and Jerome Flewelling. I can't even begin to describe the quality that you walk out of there after hearing that. Everybody's just in awe of it. So thank you to them. All of you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to those who are out in the audience as well. And Crown Point's a great place to be.
Thank you, Dr. Terrell. Item 8, other business of the board. The only item we got coming up, we do need to reorganize in the first 10 days of the school year or calendar year next month. So we're looking at Wednesday, the 8th of January, 7:30 morning meeting. So I'm going to reach out to each anyway to discuss some of the reorganization. So I'll do that the next weekend, but that would be the target date. And so if you can jot that date down, we'll discuss that when I speak to you individually about what everybody's expecting for next year's board members and cabinet. So I will reach out to that. Anybody have any other items for other board business? Okay, with that, we'll, board statements of appreciation and recognition. I am gonna let Mr. Babjack go last. But if, Mr. Baxter, you have anything this evening?
I'd like to, my understanding is both Diana Green and Brian Smith share the same birthday today, is that correct? So happy birthday, you share that along with our oldest daughter, so happy birthday to both of you. And I will say Merry Christmas to each and every one of you. Blessed New Year to all of you.
Thank you. Ms. Basin?
All right, so it neither feels right to start with addressing Scott and then move on to something else, nor does it feel right to not start with addressing Scott and have him as an end cap. So just know I've tousled back and forth with this. Neither way feels right. So I'm gonna start with you. So when you started 8 years ago, it was the exact time that I left teaching and retired from teaching in Crown Point. I very much enjoyed my time teaching here, felt like I still wanted to be involved, and at that point I had considered running for the school board. And Scott had just been elected, and I reached out and I just was, telling him all the things I felt like, from the inside, here are the things I feel like are some pain points. And I left our conversation. He grabbed coffee with me. He had no reason to waste his morning listening to all of my concerns from the inside. And what I loved most is that Scott truly listened, and the passion with which he came and addressed his position here did not go unnoticed from the teachers. And I can tell you, at a point that you entered where there was a lot of change, I think that we could have benefited from would not have happened without you, sir. So my sincerest gratitude to you, and I know that I'm the one saying it, but I can tell you from the teaching side of the community, we very much appreciate the trajectory that when you entered where we were versus where we are now is just absolutely outstanding. And for having the drive, the passion, and the inability to be held back by things that some people would have been nervous about. Well, I don't want to rock the boat, or I don't want to whatever. And you roll full force with all of your passion. And so, very grateful for you. It was wonderful to get to serve alongside you for the last couple of years. And I'll miss you, miss having you on my left here. So, so best of luck to you with all of your future, getting to coach the kiddos. Well, the last bit probably here for Braden as he gets ready to graduate. Or did you graduate? Did I miss it? Junior. Okay, it's coming. Yep. Yeah. So Grayson, sorry, you get your dad back now permanently for coaching. You don't get Mondays off once a month anymore. He's going to be on you the whole time. So, thank you. Sorry, I know I'm long-winded. I really told you this was a hard one for me. Okay. I do also want to add in, at Rotary, we had the opportunity to hear the Crown Point Choral, and I'm sure I'm messing that up. I don't think that's actually the title, but that's the best I could remember. They are truly phenomenal, and it's a special group that they do all the holiday songs, and they will perform at various things. They performed 6 out of the last 7 days before they came to us, and it was an hour and a half, 2-hour performances are what they're giving out at each of their shows. We had a shorter version at Rotary, but they are truly a phenomenal group. And to hear these, I'm always amazed anytime our arts department or music puts out anything, it feels like a professional production. So absolutely outstanding job by them. And I want to take a quick minute to address the calendar change happened a little bit before I came, but as we approach the holidays, I'm so grateful that our calendar lines up to where everyone gets a nice finish of a semester so that our teachers can get a true break. They're not grading paper, taking things home, and I'm sure they're still planning for their second semester, but a true respite, I think, is very appropriate for all those folks. And to those folks who will still be in the buildings, I know all of our custodial staff is still around. We still have sports going on. So thank you to those folks for kind of, putting in that extra work while everyone else is kind of getting their respite. So, and then happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. Thank you. I very much appreciate having you all, and around the holidays even more so.
Thank you. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you. First, let me just start by saying, Merry Christmas and happy holidays to each of you and your families, and what an honor it is to serve with such great people, both in the administration and throughout the school corporation. And we say it all the time, but we're truly blessed, and I feel that way this Christmas season, and holiday season. So thank you to all of you. I too am going to add and speak to about my colleague, who I joined the board with 8 years ago, and did not know him. I think we went and grabbed lunch at Innsbruck and said, what are we doing? And what's going on with the school corporation? And we had a lunch and had a meeting and just brainstormed and things that we liked about the school corporation, things that we thought a vision or change could happen, and really, really productive. And Scott has become not only a friend of mine on the school board, but off the school board as well. And it seems like everything's kind of coming to an end collectively. And we've been through a lot together, not only we're not going to get into details, but through the school corporation, but outside of it. So I'm dearly going to miss you. It's interesting. I guess Grace and Braden, I want you guys to hear that, a community is only as strong as the people who serve it and those that serve it nobly. And your father has done that. And he's made a huge impact on our community and our corporation. So thank you, for letting us have your dad, because that's more than the 100 meetings you've been to. And with the superintendent change, I felt like 100 meetings in and of itself, So, yeah, you guys really sacrifice, and Tracy, you as well. So thank you. I know what that sacrifice looks like. My family feels that as well. And I send Scott oftentimes texts and I say, hey, thank you, especially on his birthday. Thank you for the sacrifice you made, because my kids get to experience the benefits of that as well. So it's not just for the school corporation, it's personal to me. And I want, just to touch on, but besides being a de facto communication director before we hired Brooke, I mean, he was managing everything on social media, responding and managing. Scott also has a gift. He's not afraid to call anybody. It doesn't matter what it is. And trust me, when he has his gifts, he has his gifts. And we're going to miss that, because I could just sit back and say, well, Scott will call that person. That's great. That's a tough email. Let's let Scott tackle that, right? And you really do have qualities and giftings that are phenomenal. But there are a few items, and a lot of them have already been touched upon. I know Dr. Terrell touched upon a couple of the changes. And we always try to reflect and step back after a commitment of 4 years or 8 years as a school board and look at the change in some of the things. I did that for Dave. I did that for Tom when he left. And I want to do that for you as well. And it just keeps evolving. It keeps changing. And particularly, I think, for you, Scott, there are things that you speak, and I think Danielle hit on this so well, that you have the ability, you're willing to challenge the status quo. Sometimes that's hard, but we have to be willing to ask the tough question and challenge the status quo. How can we get better? And Scott, you have the ability to ask that. And you always ask that, and you never shied away from it. And because of that, we've had direct change. You were instrumental in pay raises for the teachers and administrators. I mean, you were an advocate for teachers and their salaries. So if you're a teacher out there and you appreciate the pay raise, you need to thank Mr. Babjack, because behind the scenes, although collectively we all get on board, typically we all bring something different. We push and advocate, and then we all, surround that goal and objective. So although all the boards on board, you led that. The playgrounds, right? If you're enjoying the playgrounds at the new, that was a big issue for him. It was driving him nuts. All right, the security department, Mr. Colson, and just the way we did security and how we looked at it. A lot of that was Mr. Babjack behind the scenes pushing that and asking that. And then you always supported other things too, of removing a transportation fees for the high school. I think we used to charge student athletes for transportation fees, and Scott would come in and say, this is driving me nuts. Why are we doing this? And so these are real conversations. I hope I'm not revealing anything too out there, but this is how the board works. This is how it works, right? And then collectively, we're working with the administration and people, and you did such an effective job of making a difference in our corporation. And then you got the obvious things, the buildings, the redistricting, the hiring of principals and more principals in the school, and anything regarding personnel and evaluations. Usually Scott was behind that, because he has a gift in that area. So, it just goes on. You always supported the other things other board members went to. Long-term planning. And I got a page and a half of things here that I could, but I know people want to get moving forward. But I just want to say thank you, because it's been an honor to serve with you. And, thank you for having the boldness to step out and ask questions and make change. And you've done it. You served well. So congratulations. You get to retire from school stuff now and enjoy it and ride off. But well done. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Scott, I mentioned a few things up at the podium. Once again, appreciated all 8 years working with you on this board. And I think I feel at least that it was done the right way. So thank you for doing it that way. With that, before I let you go ahead and do the last one, just a shout out to Brooke Allen and the ambassador program. I was contacted, you mentioned last week there at the high school, I was contacted by two individuals of how it would be great if everybody in our community could do this program, because what you learn, how you learn it, and learning the understanding behind the scenes is invaluable. And this is a former teacher at a high school of over, two high schools of over 30 years experience telling me this. So obviously it's working, so continue what you're doing because it's gonna be a great asset to this community. With that, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all of you and your families. May it be blessed for all of you. With that, I'm gonna turn this over to Mr. Babchick.
I was not expecting that. Those were very kind words by everybody, and that was really touching. And I didn't give the finality of this very much thought until I entered this room, and then all of a sudden it just hit me all at once. So I appreciate the reminders and the kind words, and this is a great team. Everybody in this room, I mean, this has all been a team. One of the best teams that I've worked with, and a lot of people think that that is. That's always easy, that the times are always easy, and that everybody just gets along and everybody agrees with everyone, and that is not the case by any means. So as I'm processing all the kind words everybody just had, I just have a bunch of thank yous that I want to give. I'm going to put my head down and read from this so I can keep it together, and just have some, be about 2-3 minutes. So I'd like to start by thanking my wife Tracy and my entire family. That didn't last very long. My family that was on this journey with me the past 8 years, believe it or not, there are a few negative aspects of this ultimately positive experience of serving on the board. It's impossible not to take those things home with you, but Tracy was always someone I could talk to and bounce ideas off, whether it be the hiring of a new superintendent or how to handle all the conflict that came with COVID. She was always, well, mostly on my side. She was willing to put on the boxing gloves to come to our defense. I say our defense, not just mine. Our defense, whether it was by defending our decisions during day-to-day conversations with whoever she encountered, or possibly the occasional social media conflict. She did that stuff too. Wasn't just me. So, yeah. I needed her support, and she was always there, often as emotionally invested in the job as me. Also, I'm proud to have joined my sister Angie, my mother Betty, and my father Bill on the list of Babjacks that have served this great city with pride and integrity. I'd also like to thank the entire administration, starting with Dr. Terrell. Hiring Todd was the most important decision that this board has made. With any organization, it is important that the board gets the CEO selection correct, and then you rely on them to hire the proper cabinet to handle the task of running a corporation. Todd has done this extremely well and has made much needed organizational changes with regards to alignment and personnel. The people in this room today serve the students of the Crown Point Community School Corporation passionately and exceptionally, and I am very grateful for that, both as a board member and as a parent. Also, I want to thank the building leaders, teachers, coaches, and all the support staff that serve the children of this community. While the most important decision a board can make is the selection of the corporation's leaders, you are the most important people and the foundation of how well our schools perform. Thank you to the current board, as well as Dave Warney and Tom Hoffman from previous boards. You were all great teammates. The perception of the board is often judged by the boring policy and procedure approvals that take place in this meeting room. Often people use the phrase, the board just rubber stamps what the administration puts forward. I'm sure everyone in this room can cite multiple examples of how this is definitely not the case. Please continue to be independent thinkers and know that you have an obligation to dissent when compelled to do so. Finally, I'd like to thank the community of Crown Point for giving me the opportunity to serve as a board member for 8 years. Having lived in Crown Point almost my entire life, as well as raising a family here, I can assure you that I took this responsibility very seriously, and I hope that you feel that this board played a small part in making our city one that continues to thrive. Ideally, this will not be the last opportunity I have to serve Crown Point. And I hope it's not. And I look forward to the next time I ask its citizens to support me as a public servant, and hopefully will have the confidence to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, and very well said. better way to end the meeting and get into the holiday season. So with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Babjak, second by Mr. Vassar. All those in favor, please signify by saying yes. Aye. Aye. Thank you. Motion